Chapter 14. The Agency Business. Sales. The agency business is part of American business, and its client's business is the agency's business too. One common business interest: sales. When I walk into a boardroom and see dusty chairs, I have two reactions. One, the porter probably isn't on the job. Two, the executives probably are. Dust on the chairs is a lot better than dust on the pants of the men who spend their time sitting in meetings. When we had board meetings, I like to have them standing up, preferably on one foot. This accomplished two things. One, things got done faster. Two, nobody fell asleep. The same thing is true of many sales meetings. Remember this: as a salesman, it is not important what you think of your customer. It is only what he thinks of you that counts. Don't knock him, support him. Don't complain or find fault, especially to outsiders. Your words may work their way back, and if they do, they will do you harm every time. Customers like to buy from their friends. Be one. I was discussing one of our clients' problems with a man in our shop. In the course of the conversation, he seemed to get lost in the picayune. He kept dwelling on little details, missing the grand strategy. "Come on," I said to him jokingly. "If you think like a delicatessen dealer, you're going to wind up being one." Somehow or other, this got into print. And I got letters, phone calls, and even a telegram from delicatessen dealers asking me to please explain what was wrong with dealing in delicatessen. Lesson for Biow: if you talk as if you have a small mind, you'll end up running a small business. I learned my lesson. Have you ever run into the sales manager who gives his men a book of sales lessons, questions, and answers to take with them on a trip? Then, if a customer asks a question, they'll know where to find the answer. How salesmen can go along with this, I have never understood. Do they say to the customer, "Wait a minute, I'll look that up," and turn to the book to find out? It seems to me that a salesman who knows his business would know the answers to all the questions. He shouldn't go on the road until he does. Giving him a question and answer book simply means that the sales manager hasn't completed his job. What would that same sales manager think if when the salesman came back, he asked, "How much did you sell, Jim?" And the salesman replied, "Wait a minute, boss, I'll look it up." There's a lesson here for the adman who goes out with a presentation, his sales story between plastic sheets but not between his ears. Once upon a time there was a salesman, one of the best in his organization. But he had no respect for company discipline. His written orders were slovenly, his expense accounts impossible. He never followed his itinerary. He was even rude to customers. But somehow or other, he got the business. So much business, in fact, that the office was afraid to fire him. One day, he went too far. A sales meeting was called in New York. Everyone was there, except our hero. He didn't even bother writing in. Insubordination infuriated the boss. He'd had enough. There was only one thing left to do. The boss wrote him a letter. "Dear John, you are a very careless salesman. Our customers complain about you. Your orders are hard to read. You disobey instructions. We never know where to find you. Even this letter must chase around after you. I want to tell you here and now that you are fired. We cannot put up with you any longer." Signed, Joe Smith, Sales Manager. The salesman knew his customers and he knew his boss. The old man would be sorry the next day. He quickly wrote across the letter and sent it back where it came from. When the boss opened the letter, he read, "Dear Joe, look what some SOB sent me," and signed your name. Love, John. A visitor to our office once said, "Your shop is so busy. Hundreds of you working. You must be spending a fortune to maintain this place. I wonder, are you really making any money?" "The fact is, I don't know," I answered. "All I know is that when I see Morris Zinnemann, our treasurer, smiling, I'm sure that all is well." This might seem casual for an advertising agency doing the volume of business we did, but the fact is that an agency really makes money only because its clients do. It seems to me that if you watch their earnings, you'll be taking good care of yourself. Zinnemann had a hard time interesting me in the bookkeeping department. He was quite proud of their work and really tried hard to get me interested, but he made little headway. I enjoyed the distinction of never sitting down to look at a statement in over 45 years of the Biow company. For a long time, Morris thought about buying machines for the department. Big ones to sort cards with lightning speed installed in a soundproof room. Small ones to add, subtract, write checks. Being a deliberate man, he didn't exactly jump into this. He thought it through again and again. He had one principal problem: how to tell me they cost $70,000. Morris knew I was always in favor of spending money anywhere to help the business, on copy, research, and the like. But on bookkeeping, never. There was only one answer: buy them first and tell me later. And that's exactly what Zinnemann did. After a few days, when he was sure they were in working order, he broke the news to me as gently as possible. Silently, I allowed myself to be led down to see them. They were really big ones. They sorted, added, wrote, did all sorts of amazing things at a dizzy pace. It seemed to me that they went around in circles. Whether or not they did, I did. All I could do was to mutter something more or less meaningless and hurry back upstairs. They were Zinnemann's babies, and he could have them. In justice to Morris, the machines did cut our costs and increased our efficiency. If he never got any accolades from me for buying them, he got them as other agencies followed his lead. When I talk about salesmen, I mean all that this one word can imply. Not just a man on the road with goods, I mean salesmen selling goods, men who know their business. I've seen such men sitting at conventions, captive audiences for advertising men. The odds are that by the time the ad man has delivered his first sentence, they know he is just spouting theories. He has never called on their dealers, never sold their goods, and knows their problems, if at all, by hearsay. He's wasting their time. Their minds wander off into the blue, and the man stands there talking to himself. It's a good idea never to talk about selling to salesmen unless you have proved, in practice, that they will be able to sell more by listening to what you're saying. Salesmen are quick to see selling ideas. They can often top the sales manager. If you convince them that you can help them boost sales, you can bet that they'll listen. When you show salesmen the advertising, show it from the consumer point of view. Point out the plus difference that will make the consumer want the product. Explain it well so that the salesman can use it on the trade. The same idea that sells the consumer will sell the dealer. If it doesn't do that, it will do nothing at all. And when you talk about coverage, never mind the millions of people all across America who see the ads. The salesman couldn't care less. Each man sells in his own bailiwick. Tell him what you are doing for him, where he sells. Think twice about those advertising portfolios. They cost a lot of money. They're supposed to help the men sell more goods. If there was ever padding for the bottom of a salesman's trunk, the portfolio is it. This is no argument against producing a great portfolio. The right one can help sell goods. But be sure it's right before you produce it. If you're a salesman yourself, you'll know. For the most part, I like to think of tonnage as the criterion for sales. It is the mass, not the class, who make products go big. It is the mass, not the class, who are not fickle, who do not change their minds overnight. It is the mass, not the class, who buy more and who make more room for more advertising, and more advertising sells more goods. You sell less to the so-called class market. You don't get tonnage when the price is high. In the class market, perfume, for example, the more you sell, the more fearful you get. As we often said, once the maid buys your perfume, you start to tumble. Who wants to buy the same perfume the maid buys? And it makes no difference whether you're selling fine paintings, fine furniture, or fine china. The turnover, at best, is slow. Class stops at the dollar line. Mass keeps on going. While it isn't always true, you can generally accept this as a fact. If you want to live at the top of the pile, sell the people who live at the bottom. Bottom and top may be overstatements, but they do emphasize my point. Note for salesmen and ad men. If you want some proof that businesses grow old because the men who run them grow old, take a look at this. Diesel locomotives did not come out of steam locomotives. The movie business did not come out of vaudeville. The automobile business did not come out of the wagon business. This with a few exceptions. Wristwatches did not come out of the pocket watch business. Ballpoint pens did not come out of fountain pens, nor mechanical pencils out of lead pencils. Even sweet ginger ale stood still while dry ginger ale came from Canada into the American market. And you can add plenty to this list. Try it. Every one of these businesses stood still, while aggressive companies took advantage of the opportunities. Any one of them could at least have added to what they were doing, but they did not. They seldom do. This is just one proof that businesses grow old as men grow old in their thinking. In contrast, take Procter& Gamble and Tide. Where were the other big companies? What were they doing while Tide captured the detergent market? Surely those other companies must have been exposed to detergents? Did they look with an open mind? Did they let the public decide? Or did they decide ipso facto such a product would never go? In the end, of course, they came in. But they've never caught up with Tide, nor even with P&G's second in line, Cheer. True, you sometimes examine a new idea, consider it, and wind up with a wrong decision. Such errors are bound to occur now and then, but far more often, smugness sets in with success. The men at the top stop thinking, the business grows old. Somebody, somewhere, will always be coming up with a new idea. Sometimes it's you, sometimes not. But wherever the idea comes from, if it's right, you've got to be ready. Try this for fun. It's a good test of watching what you say when you want to sell. Here are some slogans. These advertisers have spent millions of dollars a year to put the ideas across. Perhaps you can tell which advertisers they are. A hand in things to come. Machines that build for a growing America. The light that never fails. For people who can't brush after every meal, it's coffee or coffee. Better things for better living through chemistry. When you care enough to send the very best, the skin you love to touch. Progress is our most important product. Eventually, why not now? Keep that schoolgirl complexion. Did you have any trouble with the skin you love to touch and keep that schoolgirl complexion? Those two often get mixed up. Here are more slogans. I'd walk a mile for a camel. Anacin is like a doctor's prescription. You can be sure if it's Westinghouse. Winston tastes good, like a cigarette should. Better by Birdseye. Bulova watch time. Salem refreshes your taste because Pillsbury is best. Let Hertz put you in the driver's seat. Call for Philip Morris. The conclusion is obvious. Each has the name of the product within the slogan itself. A slogan is always better when it contains the name of the product itself. Then no one has to guess. To help you a bit, here are the names of the companies using the slogans which do not include the product. Listed in the same order: Union Carbide, Caterpillar, Metropolitan Life Insurance, Gleam Savarin, DuPont, Hallmark, Jergens, General Electric, Hecker Palmolive. There's a lot of talk about saving for a rainy day. I have always believed that the American businessman should spend all the money he can, and always earn more money than he can spend. Think about this for a moment. A man who thinks big, who wants to be big, who has the courage to do big things, always learns to earn more than he is spending. He puts his energy behind earning, not behind saving. And if he is what he ought to be, he gets there. I guess some men could go broke on a theory like this. But those who go broke are not those it's for. It's for big men only, and they probably know it already. There is no surer way of doing less business than to plan it that way. You'll come out right by coming out wrong. I have seen company directors sit in a room convinced that they were going to do less business and plan things exactly that way. The first thing they do is cut advertising at precisely the time they need it most, when it's one thing that could help them do more business. Adversity calls for courage. It calls for inventiveness, not submissiveness. Perhaps a new selling approach or a new package. Perhaps a new use for a product, or even an entirely new product. In times when it looks as though a business is going to do less, men of determination often can make it do more. Arthur Brisbane once said that he knew a man who wanted to be president of the United States, but wound up a delicatessen dealer. I often wondered, said Arthur Brisbane, what this man would have been if he hadn't wanted to be president of the United States. When you plan high, when you shoot high, you are bound to do more than when your target is low. Naturally, if manufacturing is involved, you have to keep production close to sales. There's no sense in letting that get away from you, but begin by planning low and, no doubt about it, that's the way you'll wind up. How's your selling style? Tobey Davis was a leading retailing and fashion consultant. Each year, she gave a highly coveted award for distinguished contribution to retailing at a dinner on the St. Regis roof. The party was a major and festive event that was attended by all of the most important stylists and executives, some 300 or 400 experts in their fields, from department stores throughout the country. In 1951, the prize was presented to General Robert E. Wood of Sears, Roebuck and Company. In his acceptance speech, he put into words one of the most significant principles I have ever heard stated by a businessman. I must confess I fall very far short in some of the qualifications of a successful retailer. I have no style sense, no eye for display, and am no judge of advertising copy, either catalog, radio, or newspaper. So I feel very humble in the presence of so many men and women distinguished in the retail world. But there is an old military maxim that if the grand strategy of a campaign is correct, a great number of tactical mistakes can be made, and yet ultimate success can be attained. I believe the success of Sears and its retail store operation has pretty well proved this maxim. General Wood was talking to men who did have style sense, an eye for display, who were judges of advertising copy, either catalog, radio, or newspaper. He knew it, and they knew it too. And that's why he said it. No wonder his stores are the greatest in the world, from Maine to California, from Canada to Latin America. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, you might want to check our link in the description, where you'll find many other fundamental marketing books in different languages. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more persuasion and direct response content. See you in the next one.